Good evening, and welcome to our panel discussion on Stillwater's Afghan Family Project, presented by Phi Beta Delta. Oklahoma State University is the home of the Upsilon chapter of Phi Beta Delta, an honor society not only dedicated to recognizing scholarly achievement in international education, but to also provide a network on campus of faculty, staff, and students involved in international endeavors. Tonight, we are discussing the resettlement of Afghan families. On the panel this evening are Dean Randy Kluver, Dean of the School for Global Studies and Partnerships, and coordinator of the OSU response to the Afghan Family Project. Dr. Larry Hoberock, he's the lead volunteer in Stillwater and professor and head emeritus for mechanical and aerospace engineering. Colonel Mike Fitzgerald, U.S. Army, retired. Mike is currently the Catholic Charities Operations Manager for Stillwater. His military career covered nearly 4 decades, entering active duty as a private and leaving as a colonel. His deployments include 2 to Iraq and 3 to Afghanistan. Mike's 22 awards include the Bronze Star Medal, 3 Meritorious Service Medals, the Combat Action Badge, and the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. He has been married to Robin for over 28 years, and they have 2 children, Caleb, 25, and Erica, 21. Both went or are going to OSU, as did Robin and her parents. A transplant from Virginia, his last active duty assignment was at the Pentagon's Army Readiness Division. His family now happily calls Stillwater home. Mike graduated from the U.S. Army War College in 2013 with a master's in strategic studies and earned his bachelor's in agronomy in 1983 from Texas A&M.
Whoop.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us this evening. Our panelists will each talk for 15 minutes, giving us information based on their area of expertise, and at the end we will ask some of the questions submitted previously by our audience. Without further ado, I'd like to reintroduce Colonel Mike Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Our first slide is going to be about who, and I'm going to cover the 5 W's. We refer to them as Afghans, not Afghanis, and the reason being is the Afghani is their money. So they're also, so basically the US dollar is equivalent to the Afghani. So they're from Central Asia, they're not Arabs, and the major languages are Persian Dari and Pashto, although there are several other dialects. What we're finding right now is the population is split between Pashto and Persian Dari. 9 agencies can resettle refugees on behalf of the United States government in America. Catholic Charities is the only one that's authorized in Oklahoma. Think of us as providing the structure, the accountability, and the audit trail. But it's definitely a community effort. Our goal is to weave them into the fabric of American society as quickly as possible. That starts with English as a second language to get their language skills up, job training, and etc. And all the while we're doing this is for Catholic Charities is to demonstrate Christ's merciful love. The where is for Oklahoma. There'll be 1,000 individuals that will eventually come into Oklahoma City. Tulsa will get 690 individuals, and Stillwater will have 160 souls total. That's about 40 families. When will they arrive? We'll get our first families in the first week of December, trying to settle at least 10 families in December. We may hit that, and then we'll be adding 10 families per month until we have all 40 settled. Here's the reason why. These individuals that either helped us or are allies, or they were members of the families of those that helped us. And they're threatened by the current regime, and the bottom line, it's the right thing to do. I'll be followed by Dr. Hoberock.
Give me just a minute here to get my slide up.
Escape.
So following what Colonel Fitzgerald just said, we have several goals and we have a vision. As the Colonel indicated, we want to assure a smooth, timely, and friendly transition to living in America and Oklahoma for these families. And then, of course, having done that, we want to transition our Afghan families to independent living as quickly as possible. Within 6 to 8 months, although we do have federal support for longer than that if needed. Each Afghan family will be assigned a volunteer family from the Stillwater area. There'll be a single point of contact for any assistance or needs that come up. These family assistants, or FAs as we call them, will be the regular face to Afghans. They're there to exhibit a warm and welcoming demeanor with willingness and ability to meet as far as possible and reasonable their needs and concerns. The organization chart that'll come up on the next slide shows how the adult volunteers are arranged. We have sought, and in fact we have found those volunteers who by experience have shown themselves to be get-with-it doers. They've shown people that have shown good judgment, have a heart for helping others, are team players, and good leaders. You'll see in each block on this organization chart, and you can think of those blocks as a committee. Each block represents a committee. And we already have the leaders for each of those committees, and in fact, most of those committees are already filled. The largest need at present is for volunteers for family assistance. As of today, we need 40, one for each of 40 families. We have 25, and we have a number of others that are still deciding. So here's the organization chart. You can see at the top, we report to Catholic Charities. Mike Fitzgerald, Colonel Fitzgerald, reports to the Chief Financial Officer, Joe O'Connor. We have, of course, a very strong partnership with Oklahoma State University through Dr. Randy Kluver, who's going to be talking to you in a minute. And of course, we have a partnership going with St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church here in Stillwater. I've been designated as a lead volunteer, and as you can see under that, we have committees for hospitality, groceries, transportation, medical and dental, and of course the medical and dental will include counseling if needed, education for children, jobs, a committee that is set up to help them find jobs, furnishings, because many of the spaces they're going to rent will be unfurnished. For any legal concerns, we will go back to Tulsa for legal counsel for help there. Personal and domestic needs, that covers a broad swath. And of course, education for adults. And then under that, you'll see case managers. Those case managers are employees of Catholic Charities, and those case managers will all report to Colonel Fitzgerald. And then you'll see the second line up from the bottom in this slide. There will be a family assistant for each of the 40 families, and then of course on the bottom line are the families themselves. To date, we've had more than 200 people express interest in volunteering from across the community and from OSU. OSU, with the help of Dr. Kluver, is providing 25 two-bedroom apartments through the end of this coming June. And nicely, those apartments include utilities. Dr. Kluver has also arranged free bus service. There will be bed frames in each department, some dinnerware. We've got others that have been donated. The use of the OSU Family Resource Center, and of course, access to a wide variety of OSU facilities, including the English Language Institute. The remaining 15 families will be housed in off-campus rental housing at reduced rates, and they'll also have access to the OSU English Language Institute. We estimate the minimum housing costs for a family of 5 in OSU facilities at about $720 a month. That's just the housing and the utilities. Our groceries will come initially from our daily bread with 2 visits a month. That's been specially arranged. And other needs are planned to come from donations from the community. Their health services will be covered by Medicaid. Our time horizon is to support these families within 6 months on average, with a maximum of 8 months from arriving in Stillwater. We have a needs and don't need or can't use list. Currently they're posted on the OSU website, so if you go to Global Studies, if you'll go to Google and Google OSU Global Studies Program, you'll see right at the top a list of needs, and we will post that on a website a little later in Stillwater. Right now we can accept only hard furniture and household donations. We're not accepting couches or furniture with textiles, mattresses, armchairs, those kinds of items. We're happy to take those items if they're new. And so right now our reception area for these items is at the First Baptist Church here in Stillwater on 7th and Duncan. And Saturday mornings, 10:30 to 12:30 is when we can accept those items. There's a staff there that will accept those and catalog them. Again, our food items will come from our daily bread primarily, clothing from the various charities here in Stillwater, Salvation Army, Goodwill, Carmen Corner, etc. For specialty items like spices and halal type meats, we're going to use gift cards for the Himalayan grocery store here in Stillwater. Personal and domestic items not covered by donations, we're going to use Walmart gift cards for those. And so we're asking for donations. We suggest $50 per card, and those can be delivered to Colonel Fitzgerald, as you see there on the screen, in care of the St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church here in Stillwater. To date, the Stillwater community response to our requests has been amazingly strong. Overwhelming support for our resettlement program. It's amazing, and it's really gratifying to see the strong support we've had from OSU and from the community at large. OSU has been a very strong partner. I would guess that well more than half of the volunteers that we've had so far have come from this community. Excellent support for housing, transportation, translation services, English language education, and of course some domestic needs as well. Finally, our vision is to educate and invest in these families to become productive citizens, choosing to make the Stillwater area their home. They've already demonstrated uncommon fortitude in getting here, showing that they have the potential to become strong citizens here in Payne County, Oklahoma. This will be a historical event for Stillwater. Never happened before, and we don't know that it'll happen again, so we do have plans to document this. We don't have the details worked out yet, but we think it's worth the effort. We're on track, we think, to make this a very successful program, but we still need your support.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hoveroth. Lots of good information. Dean Kluver.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn, and thank you to Phi Beta Delta for organizing this. We appreciate the opportunity to talk about this effort. And I am often asked, how did OSU get engaged in this? And really it came about through in the month of August, as the Taliban were advancing on Kabul. We had faculty, we had former students, we had family of former students contacting people across the university saying, what's OSU going to do about this? I remember one particular email I got from a parent of an OSU student who had served in Afghanistan, said, my son had this friend, this translator, is there anything OSU could do? And we were really helpless to do that. There's very little we could do. And so, but again, I had numerous requests from across the campus, and then somebody said, you need to talk to this guy, Mike Fitzgerald, because he's actually going to bring some families in. And so I reached out to Mike and we began talking, and we realized that some of the resources that OSU had available would be a perfect match. And particularly, we started with housing. Because of COVID, a number of our international students who would normally be here were unable to come because of COVID restrictions, because of visa issues. And so we had some available housing. And so I reached out to Residence Life and said, hey, would you guys be interested in working with this? And very quickly the response came back. The response of the OSU campus has just been phenomenal. I talk with universities across the nation, and all of who are playing some role in trying to respond to this, but I just can't tell you how proud I am of the OSU community. From the top to the bottom, everybody has said this is just something we want to participate in. And so it looks like I did a lot. I actually just asked, and people just stepped up, and it's just been phenomenal. So let me talk just a little bit. I'm going to jump to the second slide. As you know, about 120,000, 130,000 people left Afghanistan. That middle weekend, around August 16th, 17th, as Kabul fell, people's hearts were broken. And that's true not only of people across the U.S., but people in OSU as well. And as Colonel Fitzgerald indicated, about 37,000 of them will eventually end up in the U.S. Catholic Charities is the lead agency on this, for which I'm very glad, because it puts them in the charge. And so, Mike has already gone over all this other stuff. I wanted to really kind of focus, though, on the issue of what the refugees bring. Yes, they are coming with very little. Whatever belongings they got into the Kabul airport with, they typically had to leave behind. And as they've made their way to here, they're going to have accumulated very little. But in the long run, refugees are a tremendous benefit to our society, and I really hope for the city of Stillwater. We think that there will be long-term neighbors, but we have to make sure, we have to set them up for success. We know from previous refugee resettlements, and Oklahoma has had a number of refugees before the Vietnamese in the 1970s. And something I'm personally acquainted with, but from the Vietnamese resettlement in the 1970s, we know that within just a very short period of time, many of those Vietnamese refugees became business owners. They started new businesses. They became employers. We know that across Oklahoma, many of the valedictorians in the high schools all of a sudden started having Vietnamese names. And so we know the success of the refugees. Nationally, we know that refugees are twice as likely to become entrepreneurs as native-born Americans. We know that within a few years, refugees typically have higher household incomes than native-born Americans. We know that they bring tremendous vitality. Even, I was sharing with Colonel Fitzgerald a little bit earlier, and a number of communities have found that refugees in communities where they settle, actually the crime rate goes down because they bring new life to decaying communities often. So it is our hope that these people settle into Stillwater, that they become successful, and that they become long-term residents and neighbors, and that's really our goal. This next slide just outlines some of the ways that the OSU community is contributing. Of course, the university housing, in addition to the 25 families who will be living in university housing, there'll be another 15 families in Stillwater. And the university is working with all of them. So the English Language Institute, for example, or the English Language Intercultural Center, which we've recently renamed, is gearing up to provide intensive English immersion programs and English language programs for up to 80 adults. So out of the 40 families, we intend to give all of them opportunities to learn English so that they can become integrated into the community, so they can search for jobs and so on and so forth. In addition, the ELIC is also working with Stillwater Public Schools to provide school preparation programs in December and January. So as these children come into the community, they have opportunities to really work with SPS teachers as well as students and teachers from OSU to really understand how does an American school work, and set them up for success on that. OSU Transportation has been terrific, and they're willing to provide access to the OSU bus network. So as the families settle in, they'll be able to go shopping, they'll be able to start looking for jobs, they'll be able to start interacting with the community. OSU University Health Services, along with Payne County Health, will be looking at all the medical issues associated with it. And you might have noticed from Larry's slide earlier, there's actually a medical team And so they're working with that. The response of faculty and students has been phenomenal. As Larry mentioned, we had well over 200 volunteers. One of our biggest issues is how do we actually use all these people who are volunteering, and so there are going to be opportunities for that. We know, and if you're one of those people who signed up and you haven't heard from us yet, I apologize. We'll get to you. And so on and so forth. So OSU has just been fantastic. It's been tremendous. And so many students have said, I'm so glad the university is doing this. We've had a little bit of pushback. We've had a little bit of people who say, this is not the role of a university. But in fact, you know, the land-grant university is about economic development. It's about helping our community. And so we do see it as part of that. Some other ways that I just want to highlight, you know, the contributions that have come from student groups, from faculty and so on has been tremendous. But I really want to highlight the impact of our international students. Our international students are the only people on campus who speak Dari or Pashto. And so a number of those student groups have stepped up and said, yeah, let me know how I can help. And so we will be working with OSU's international students to provide translation services as folks move in. And so I'm really proud of the international students who have stepped up for that. And then finally, the next steps, we are looking at employment opportunities on campus. Of course, there's employment opportunities all over town, but we do hope that some of the families can ultimately contribute back to OSU in that way by becoming employees. We're working with OSU IT to make sure that they have access to network technology. As many of them have come out of Afghanistan, maintaining contact with family is very difficult, and so internet access is absolutely critical for maintaining people, allowing people to maintain family ties as well as look for jobs. Long term, I would love to see scholarship opportunities arise at OSU. These children, many of these children who are going to be coming to Stillwater in 5, 10, 15 years are going to be looking for universities. I hope that we have opportunities for them to come here. You know, we just hosted in the last week 2 speakers in the School of Global Studies, both of whom who came to the United States as Vietnamese refugees. One retired as a 2-star Army general. One is now the owner of Jimmy's Egg restaurants, and these are 2 examples of people who came really penniless, broke, with no resources, no English language ability 46 years ago. Now they've become huge contributions to our society, and we expect the same thing out of this Afghan group as well. And so that is the end of my slide presentation, I think. It evidently is. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to talk about this project and what it can mean for our community.
Yeah, great information. Thank you, Dean Kluver. So I have some questions here that were submitted previously that I'm going to ask of our panel. And I guess this one could be for any of you, but how about maybe Mike, if you could help me here. What's been the greatest challenge in preparing for the arrival of the families?
Well, I think Dr. Hobrock and both Dr. Hobrock and Dean Kluver mentioned that the greatest challenge was the 200 plus volunteers.
Okay.
And so, we apologize as a group collective because we were just inundated with all the offers to help. We've moved a lot of people into the different committees and the teams for needs, and we will need additional people as we go along. But in the meantime, if you do want to volunteer and you're able, the Salvation Army needs help. And I'd also say that the don't needs that we have, we'd like those to go there because everything that they sell comes back in through social services for Payne County. And that's very important, especially this time of year. But yeah, the greatest challenge has been basically how to keep everyone engaged. And we do want to keep them engaged, and we will eventually be able to rotate and train and use them in other ways.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that's a really good problem to have.
It is.
With 200
it's
volunteers.
part of the overwhelming tsunami. That's where we're at right now.
But when you think about it, you know, there are a lot of parts to this. Housing is the first, but there's so many other parts of it in terms of health issues, in terms of making sure people have, figure out how to go shopping, ultimately helping people find jobs, and all of those issues. And so, you know, I commend the team from Catholic Charities because they've taken on a very big task, and they didn't have an infrastructure here before August to even start. And so they've built up the infrastructure at the same time they're trying to prepare for that, and it has been overwhelming.
Yeah, and I would say that we haven't done this before. We're learning as we go. And so a lot of the things that we've planned on doing may not come to fruition or the way we want to do it, because we find out as the families come that their needs may be different or different intensity than what we expected. So we have a flexible organization. We're ready to pivot to meet whatever needs come up. That's always a challenge when you've got this many volunteers trying to serve all of these people. But we're up to it, and we'll do it.
And I'm assuming that you're going to need volunteers not just the first month that they get here, but ongoing to help for support of the families.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Great, thank you. Dean Kluver, you were talking about education for adults and then some of the services that we're going to be giving the children. Is the expectation that the children will eventually be inside the local schools?
Yes, and we're working very closely with Stephanie Coca from Stillwater Public Schools to prepare them. So what we know we can't do is when school starts up in January, send dozens and dozens of children into the schools. What we want to do is work with the team from Stillwater Public Schools and the English Language Intercultural Center. They'll be developing those preschool programs, really some orientations, assessing if the children have any English at all, and if not, getting them at least some so they can function in the school. There's going to be a very different set of expectations for what school's about, how things work in an American school. And so they will eventually end up in Stillwater schools, but we're going to try to pace that out so that it's not all at once. So we'll be using both on and off campus facilities to provide some programming for the children. Eventually, of course, we want to include the parents in there as well, because the parents are a big part of a child's success in school. So we want the parents to also understand how the school works, build relationships in the schools as well.
And I would say that the Stillwater Public Schools have a lot of experience in dealing with international students that have come in, because we bring to OSU. Back when I was in the chair, there were over 100 different countries with students represented here on this campus, which brought a lot of their children into the school system. So we're dealing with, fortunately, in a university town, an elementary all the way through high school system that has adapted and learned how to handle students from different cultures. So we're very, very blessed to have that, and they've been very, very supportive.
Excellent, that's wonderful. So we're also talking about, as we're getting them resettled, are the refugees permitted to work in the U.S.? And if so, what types of jobs might they be looking for?
Well, they're currently getting their work authorizations that we were given 30 to 60 days from when they first came into the federal camps in August. And actually, I think we're right at 50% of the people in Tulsa who will get our families from there. They've already received their work authorizations. So that's a very good question, because what I would like to do is, once we get them assessed in English, is ask them what they want to do. Okay. And we'll try to match their passion up with their skill set and get them the right training, either through Meridian or through other means.
Yeah, and I would say that Meridian Technology Center is another huge asset besides what we've been talking about here, because we don't know whether many of these families coming here bring any skills with them or not, or the skills they bring, whether or not they're something we can really use in this community. But we do have the ability to pivot and use Meridian Technology Center once our wage earners learn a little English, to go to school and learn how to be welders, or learn how to be skilled construction workers, or whatever it takes. And that's another blessing, and I think another asset that the city of Stillwater brings to a problem like this. In addition to OSU, we have the school system, we have a very active business community to help. As a matter of fact, I should say that the chair of our employment committee is the current CEO of Stillwater's Chamber of Commerce, and he's very excited about trying to help us integrate these families into the job market.
Okay, so if someone has a job in the area, should they wait for a phone call? Should they call someone and say, hey, I could employ some people, or is it too early to think about it?
Well, I think that we probably need to assess where they are.
Okay.
I mean, the whole thing is about learning what they bring, what they want to do, what they aspire to, and do we assess that they're really ready to do that yet? There's a huge cultural thing they've got to learn in
Right.
addition to language.
Right. Okay, thank you. I had another question here about the COVID-19 vaccinations. Do we know that if the thank you.
Yes. We know that they've received the first COVID-19 vaccination in the lily pads, which they were calling the federal locations they were at. And then as they come due, if they're in Tulsa, they'll get the second one, or we'll get them the second one when they get here. So, yeah.
Thank
They've
you.
also had some other vaccinations.
Yeah,
had-
they've also had the first round of vaccinations that's required for the Stillwater Public Schools. So,
Excellent.
yeah. And once we get their records, we'll double check all of that as well.
Great. So I wanted to make a little bit back around, Larry, about what you were talking about. The list of needs is on the Global Studies website. Hard furniture, so nothing upholstered. And where did you say that we could drop those things off?
Okay, so the First Baptist Church at 7th and Duncan here in Stillwater on Saturday mornings from 10:30 to 12:30 has a crew to help unload whatever you bring and take it into a huge storeroom that we've got. And then we have Sarah Murray, who is our committee chair of furnishings and also a case manager for Catholic Charities, who is inventorying all of that for us. So we'll be able to very quickly find out, okay, what do we need and what do we have to fill it. So Saturday mornings, 10:30 to 12:30, and we appreciate, and if for some reason you have some things that you cannot deliver, we'll come and get it. And Sarah Murray, Murray, SMURRAY, at cceok.org, O-R-G, would be happy to arrange for one of our volunteers, her volunteers, to come and pick it up.
Great, thank you. I was going to ask about things like sheets and mattresses. Are you purchasing these items, or will there be another opportunity to donate in other ways?
We're taking new items.
Okay.
If they're new, the beds that we have in the OSU apartments are a combination of the standard full-size bed and extra long twin. So for linens and blankets that fit either one of those two bed frames, we're taking, if they're new, those can be dropped off at the First Baptist Church, as I said earlier. And you had a second part to that question?
So linens and mattresses.
Yes. Mattresses have to be new.
Okay.
We're not taking, there's a reason for that. And,
Of course.
The problem is we don't have the means to sterilize and clean them. We want to be sure that what these families get don't have spiders or mites or anything else in them. So we're just saying thanks very much, but if you have new stuff, we'd love to have it. If it's not used, the Salvation Army can take some of this off your hands.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And then I also want to repeat, Colonel Fitzgerald, you had said about $50 gift cards, Walmart gift cards, and
Right,
dropping.
yeah.
Please.
Well, we're using either $50 gift cards to Walmart or $50 gift cards to the Himalayan grocery store. These are the two outlets that we'll use to fill in the gaps for the things that either aren't donated or that the families will need as they progress along. And you can either mail those or drop them off at the St. Francis Xavier, which is 711 North Country Club Road, in Stillwater, 74074.
Great.
You put it to my attention.
7407. No, it's 74075. Yeah. Okay. eight is OSU.
And I assume you can get the Himalayan grocery gift cards right at the store.
Right. at the store.
125 South Main.
Yep.
Wow, you gentlemen have these addresses. If I
what
need
we
to
do.
find some place afterwards, I'll let you know. All right, is there any last words that I could ask from you that you would like to make sure that we haven't covered here that you'd like to let our viewers know about?
I have something, but I'll wait till after.
I'll just bring one thing up. We're really only looking at 50 children.
Okay.
And they're going to be spread out among 3 schools, but they're all, of course, all of them are going to go through the Stillwater Public Schools, the assessments, and working real closely with them. So it'll be fine.
Great.
I'll let Dr. Kluver kind of wrap this up, but I want to make a special plug for bicycles for adults.
Okay.
We have wonderful assistance from OSU in the bus transportation that they can get anywhere in the city. But in the dead of night, or when the buses aren't running, or it's an emergency, it would sure be nice to have at least one bicycle per family, one adult bicycle. So if you have good working adult bicycles, please consider giving them to us. We can use them. Right now we have on the order of about 10, but we'd like to have at least one for each family, so we're looking for 40. That would be a huge help, so we'll make a special plea in our needs list for used adult bicycles that are in working order.
Colonel Fitzgerald, one of the issues that we often hear about that we haven't really talked directly about today is the vetting of the folks who are coming. You might want to address that.
Sure, and that's a fair question. The vetting procedures are being done by the federal government, and there is I think we're going to put a link to this on the website as well. And this is from the National Council on National Security. It's the Council on National Security and Immigration, and this is comprised of former NSC, National Security staff, and Assistant Secretary of Counterterrorism and the U.S. Department of Homeland. And in there, they're basically saying that the government is doing multiple levels or layers of vetting, and that actually they're actually picking people up based off of the biographical or the biometric data. So it's working. And so these people are being vetted, and the process is working, so there isn't anything to worry about. These aren't the bad guys.
I just, the main thing that we're looking at right now is we're planning on rolling out, as I mentioned earlier, a pretty intensive English language program. It is not easy to move to a new country and find a job and integrate into a community if you don't have the language skills. And so the ELIC, along with Stillwater Public Schools, are really looking at this issue. We are going to look for private funding to help us do that because we need to hire those instructors. We don't think it's sufficient to just give sort of incidental happenstance kind of ESL. We really want to give them intensive programs that's structured. And so we've talked with a number of community members already. Some have already contributed some funding to that. But if there are institutions, corporations, banks, so on and so forth, who'd be willing to help support that, that would be of tremendous help so that we can really make that commitment to see them through that English language programming.
So Randy, if they did want to donate, what's the route for them to donate? It
Well,
would be to OSU, but
it would be to the OSU Foundation. And so what we would do is if there's interest in contributing to that and making that investment in the community, if people want to reach out to me, then I'll put them in touch with the foundation, and that would be tremendously helpful in making that effort happen.
That would be a wonderful thing to perhaps adopt a family.
Sure.
The other thing I'd like to say is, and I don't know if we covered it or not, these are young families loaded with a lot of young kids, so keep that in mind.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I hoped you learned something new about our neighbors, our new neighbors, and I know I certainly did. I certainly look forward to helping these families settle into their new hometown of Stillwater. If you're interested in helping, you can send an email to sgsp@okstate.edu for any questions or help. Have a good night from all of us on the panel and from the Phi Beta Delta Upsilon chapter based here at Oklahoma State University. Have a good night.